I was thinking about you at the weekend, Steve, because my irises have started to grow,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to put them in the back garden
Okay.
so that nobody picks them like last year. Do you remember? I was
Oh
so
my
upset.
God, that's right. Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of, you know,
Yeah.
petty in comparison, but
Still, that's love's labor, that's lost there. So, I noticed crocus, daffodils, and bluebells are sprouting up in transmitter. So hope hope they survive the freezing.
it's amazing that they do. Nature will out for sure.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you can count on at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I've been kicked out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sante.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why every time I have an outreach committee, I have terrible problems. Should we wait other 2 minutes? Who is from the committee? Only me and Steve? Julia, I can see.
Yep.
I mean, I spoke with Janice before, so I know she was. see some people, but I don't see. Okay, I see some people appearing with cameras.
Yeah, and don't know their last name.
Yeah, Elisa just texted me. She said she's having problem with her to turn on her camera.
Yeah, I can't get my camera on. I'm sorry.
But we have your voice.
Hi, Trina.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Okay, I'll give her 2 minutes and then I'll do a roll call for the committee and
To the chair?
No, but he is, and he was waiting for the members to come in.
Okay.
I will decide.
She's the table.
It's calling your attention.
Thank you, Julia.
You're welcome.
Okay, 6:05. All right. Okay, guys, good evening. March 15, Committee Board 1, Outreach Committee meeting. I'm going to start with a roll call for our committee members. Okay, Brooks.
Here.
Chesler.
Yes.
Drinkwater. No. Foster.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Yes. Moskovitz. Moskovitz. Pedersen. I saw you before, Janice. Are you still here or you gone?
I think she's muted. She just waved.
Ah, there are two mutes.
Okay, I couldn't see him. Sabel. No.
Technical support.
Who needs technical support? Okay, guys. So, yeah, what we're doing tonight, I know for some of you, probably was a little bit unusual. Why do we have a block association? Of course, I know many of the people are my neighbors. Some are committee members. But whatever, there is a substantial representation of a substantial part of a community. In Greenpoint is also a community where I live. So why did I decide to bring somebody up? Thought it's a little bit unusual. Why to bring a block association to an outreach committee meeting? Well, it's a newly formed committee, and of course there are so many issues have been arising. Probably we always had the issue different time in the community, but especially now during COVID, there have been some in particular, and these really made me aware about the fact how important blocks association are and how important the association are when there are multiple association, you know, beyond a block, and so they have a great potential being really neighbor coalitions, and they're truly a representation of our community, because nobody belongs to other organization, or at least their organization, they are not politicized in any sense. You know, they only are to guarantee the good wealth of a neighborhood, of a community, of individual, and they probably are also one of the most probably representative form of organization in our community. And I heard recently different people from different parts of the community been experienced certain issues. They tried, once they heard there was an outreach committee, they tried to contact me, and some issue about Polish speaking, a portion of the Polish speaking community that felt it wasn't really represented or wasn't informed, and there was a lack of outreach, and this has been very common during the COVID, and especially for older generation and maybe less technological savvy. And to cut in story short, really, one of the things that came to my attention, how block association are really representative, how indirectly represent also portion of our community because of age, because of language, they can be represented in other form. So they are vehicle of information. And we should focus, I believe, as a community board, and we should focus as an outreach committee in really tapping into this aspect of inviting people if they're not organized as block association, but also to tap where there are block association, because we can really communicate, at least with our community, you know. And I know we have to work in other media and social media and Twitter, but I believe this is probably one of the most direct and physical work we could do with our community. And yeah, so that's and I know you've been having some particular issue. I know our community has some particular issue or things that we've been fearing. Probably we'll talk about that, but I just want to open a conversation with all of you about the ideology really of something lately I didn't hear talking about. And our community board in general meeting, yes, give the space to the public with that 2 minutes if you are courageous. Well, it used to be if you are courageous to wait for hours and wait to the end of the meeting, you had 2 minutes to talk about anything you want. Now probably you have to wait only an hour and a half in order to say something. But if the outreach committee can create this space for the community, it may become an interesting platform. Yeah, so microphone open for all. We'll try to close it down because of the noise we can get, but definitely, yeah. So, and I want to open a conversation just with you about this topic, General, of being part of a neighborhood and being part of a block association, and even the idea of many block associations, which are tonight here represented by Milton Street, Noble Street, Oak Street, and Kent Street, and yeah, and open a conversation, you know, with all of you. So anybody want to say something, please?
Know which association you're affiliated with. Thank you.
Sorry, Steve?
Whoever speaks, if they could please mention what block association they're affiliated with, so I can note that in the report.
Sure. Do you want to introduce yourself? Because many we know each other, but the public doesn't know. So you want me to call you, or you want to just spontaneously?
I'll start. Santa, I'll help you out. Hi, can you hear me okay? I live on Milton Street. I'm a part of Milton Block Association. I was intrigued to join because I've been hearing some comments around open culture and potential designation on 2 blocks surrounding us on Milton, both on Noble and Greenpoint Avenue. And I have a lot of questions around it. I am a Polish speaking citizen. I speak to a lot of the elderly here on the block. They would like to know more. So I want to be more educated around parameters when it comes to open cultural street zoning. And I'm not sure who is the appropriate, I guess, venue, or who would have some of the color that we could communicate a little bit more to, and erase some of the concerns that we all have. I mean, we're all supportive of culture and arts, but we want to understand what that really entails. So here, I open it up. On to the next one. How about you, Larry? If you can unmute it.
Larry, your microphone.
Oh, there he goes.
Sorry, having a few technical difficulties.
You're in here twice. You have to get rid of one of them.
Well, one is
You can't have two devices on at the same time, the feedback.
Even if you move away.
okay. How's that? Can you hear me? Okay. Larry Drucker. I'm on the board. I'm one of the founders of the Noble Lorimer Block Association. I thank Sante for organizing this and for asking me to participate. Not only the open culture issue that Anna mentioned, but there are a number of other issues that seem to require the attention of the block associations that we seem to hear about only through happenstance. Sometimes Trina will be good enough to reach out and alert us about a potential issue that's looming that could affect the block. Sometimes Sante or Alyssa, we hear about things randomly, and there doesn't seem to be any systematic way for the block association to be notified. And we have an active block association. It's been in existence for about 5 years, and it would be very helpful if there was some formal way that we can be notified of things that come before CV1 or things that are of interest to and will impact the lives of the neighbors on the block.
You know, Larry mentioned me, so I'll go next. My name's Trina, and I live on Oak Street. I'm part of the Oak Street Block Association with Alyssa, who's also on the call. And I'm also on the community board. And what I've been in touch with the Noble Street and sometimes the Milton Street Block Association about are different landmark issues. I'm the chairperson for landmarks. I'm also on the Parks Committee. And it's hard. Things come to the board, and then there's usually just a couple of weeks of turnaround before they go to committee, and then they go to the board. And so I think it's good for board members to hear that the different block associations want to hear what's going on. I think the things that affect us the most are the landmark issues in the Greenpoint Historic District, but also SLA liquor licenses. And I think if having the block associations flagged to let people know is a good thing. And now I'll call on Alyssa.
Hi, it's Elisa. Trina and I co-chair the Oak Street Neighborhood Association. I'm also on the West Street Neighborhood Association. And I can't thank the community board enough for putting together this outreach committee. There are so many things going on in the community right now, and certain of us, we sort of act like the town criers running around trying to get the information out. So I think this forum to be able to talk about things. We were actually fortunate enough to get a meeting last week with Steve Levin because almost everybody on this call had questions about open culture. Open streets are about to come back into existence again. And while most of us support all of these things, we do have questions, and we're thinkers. We want to know how this is going to work because this is our neighborhood and there are many layers to everything. So I think if we band together and we use this committee effectively, we can probably come out with some really positive outcomes. So thank you.
I can go next. My name is Diana. I'm also on the Oak Street Block Association, although much less active in recent years. The agenda for this meeting was circulated through email. A few things caught my eye, including the open culture. I understand a lot of people have concerns, but I was kind of excited about it and excited to learn more. So thanks.
Thank you. Who's next?
I'll go next. I'm Margaret McMahon. I'm part of the Milton Street Block Association. I've been in Greenpoint for 35 years. I think that probably what's the trickiest part about communication is that, listen, I'm sure everyone on this call works, and being able to do this remotely is sort of a lifesaver for me, because when you think about having to get us all over to these long community board meetings and just being able to meet in general, it's so tricky for all of us. But if doing it remotely certainly helps. There are questions that we always have, and I'm sure it's chronic for everyone hearing last minute. And then, you know, we're all trying to organize and try to get to these meetings where we've got the rest of our, you know, our work schedules to try to work around. So to find out about things earlier is always really helpful. And of course, we all do have questions, as everyone sort of echoed on this call. But I think the outreach is really important. So maybe we can get a heads up sooner and then be really prepared when we've got to sort of state our case, get all the information so that we're really well informed for any of the issues that come up. Because I'm sure everyone realizes that sort of like a game of telephone, there's an issue that comes up and then it blows up to something completely different. So knowledge is power in all of these situations, so that we all know how to react accordingly. So thank you, Sante. Sorry, I've got a dog in the background. Thank you, Sante, for organizing this. And I'm happy to participate. So thank you all.
Excuse me, Margaret. Sorry, which association are you with?
Milton Street Block Association.
Hi, Christina Zill here. I've been a Greenpoint resident for over 40 years on Kent Street, and we have a block association that pretty much has been alive in name only for the last few years. We're working on gearing up again. I just find that this is so incredibly helpful because we are such a small historic district, as well as a small community. And what happens on one block can certainly happen on the next block and on your block or around the corner. And we really have to be very much aware of the goings on, or the planning or the pre-planning of things, and how it affects our, not only the historic district, but just the streets that are surrounding the historic district, along Franklin Street all the way down to Commercial, all the building, all the changes that are going on. And it's just good to be in the know. I first started and I still am. That's my main passion, is gardening and the trees and the tree pits and all that. And I love that. But if we don't have a community to take care of those things and to be concerned about what's going on in the neighborhood, then it's all, taking care of trees is all for naught. So I just look at it as a small piece in a much bigger picture. And I hope, you know, I know I'll enjoy working with everyone here, just due to the commitment and the passion that I hear in people's voices. So thank you. Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Sante. And Trina.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I see a name that I don't know. Well, I saw Erica before. I believe she just, I don't know if she's a Greenpoint resident. I see somebody else, Sandra, Meryl.
Hi, Sante, it's Erica Matichak. How are you?
Hi, very good. I saw you last time at our last meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a Greenpoint resident, a Williamsburg resident. But
my mother and I, Evelyn, have, I'm fourth generation, my mother's third. We've participated in many, many, many years of community meetings. We usually call into all the community board meetings. And so we just listening in as public, that's all. But you would know who I am if you saw who. And the meetings are very important, so we listen in on it, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for participating, and thank you again.
I would have the video on, but I didn't put the camera on. Maybe next time.
Please do next time. I prefer the camera because they give us
no, I know.
a sense of who we are. It's already difficult doing virtually.
No, I'll do it next time.
So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who is Meryl? Sandra?
Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm Meryl. I'm also just listening in. I live in the southern part of Greenpoint. I don't think we have a block association down here.
When you say southern part, which street do you live?
I'm in Kingsland.
I see. And you're not organized in any form there?
I mean, I do community work, but like I work with the Open Streets program down here. I do some other volunteer work, but so far not block organizing.
I see. Okay, thank you. And Sandra? Okay.
Hi, my name's Sandra, and I'm a lifelong resident on Noble Street. I'm third generation living in Greenpoint, and I just wanted to listen in because we had a meeting, Block Association meeting, led by Larry and a few of our other people from Noble Street, and they were indicating they were going to attend this meeting, and I felt it was an important meeting to listen in on. So I want to thank you all for starting the meeting and conducting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And can I say Shane Spencer?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shane.
Hi. Nice to meet you all. I'm Shane Spencer again, and I'm part of the West Street Block Association. My wife and I have lived here for about 3 years, and I recently was elected to the board for my building, and so just wanting to get more involved in what's going on in the community, be outside of our building. And so here I am, just wanting to listen in.
Oh, thank you. And I never, I probably somebody mentioned, maybe you, I know probably you'll be more in contact with Lisa. So, but good to meet you. So I'm sure we'll see again. We'll continue to be in contact. So, yeah. So I mean, one of the conversation was about open culture, which this community had some substantial concern, and I believe mostly is because so much things are happening now, and we're talking about outreach. So the city and our council office, they've been lacking really of doing outreach for the community, and I believe mostly for a community like this, there has been somehow present with organizations. So being a really reachable community, discovering despite the positive, the negative, or the potential for certain negative, has raised concern because you know, nobody knew about, and all of a sudden, you know, a street was included on a list, you know, and open to certain activity, a potential would have been detrimental to the quality of life of the community. So this could happen somewhere else and people could be impacted. And again, it's not to be against a program, but it's mostly the idea of being aware and be able as a community to really give input and decide really also the destiny of your community. Of course, there are things which have to do with infrastructure, and I don't think community should have necessary voice. If they're doing a sewer line or a road, there is a valuable importance for the city, but the other things have to do with other activity, and those one, I believe the community always should be part of a conversation. So, but I don't know, Elisa, do you want to say something, because you had other information maybe about the concern of the open culture? I know you've been following and you've been in contact also with our public officials. It would be good to understand since the meeting what has happened.
Well, thank you, Sante. I just want to let you know that we just got a text to say that Noble Street has just come off the list for open culture. And that's a result of everyone coming to this meeting. And it's not necessarily that we're against things. It's just that when we're operating where all of the details are not thought out, and the meeting we had with Steve Levin was a pretty comprehensive meeting where a lot of people on this call brought to light these concerns that we had in terms of what was already happening in the community, because we're on the ground, we know what's going on, coordinating all the construction and just all of the layers that exist in this community right now. We have some very long-time residents and people who've just moved here, and we're just trying to adapt the fabric of this community and embrace the changes that are also happening within the city. So I think there's nothing better than the power of what we can bring to the table. And what this committee does is it allows a voice, because I don't think that the city is going to put these things in place without the help of its citizens. So while we just got this news that the Open Culture Street is not going on Noble, I will say that we're about to open up the streets on West again for the Open Street program. So if people want to get involved with that, that's more of a transportation issue. But again, I just encourage people to get involved. If we didn't pull this meeting together with Steve, there wouldn't have been a dialogue.
Absolutely, and this was the core. Beyond that, I know the meeting, of course, and I know there was the committee was waiting to understand what the process was. Of course, we also understood that definitely the street, the open culture, beyond that district, there were always the decision of the council office. In this case, in the 33rd district was our council member, Steve Levin, but could have been anywhere else. So I believe what is really key is that the communication of the council office, they should have with the community, and in any district there always should be a consistent communication, because that division and the criticism that lately, I heard, I received so many emails from people who's trying to grasp for help because maybe they don't agree, maybe a minority, maybe a majority. It really has to do with a lack of communication. And so before our city agency makes decision, it is, I believe, fundamental, to have this conversation. So, and the fact that now, Elisa, you're saying that you just received this news is the proof that the community should never be in this position to have to dismantle something. Should it be the other process? We should build it together without a community having to battle against something and have it recognized and waste a lot of time for a community. And
it would be good to let the candidates know, the various candidates for Steve's seat, know what happened and what.
So does that mean that we should be doing outreach with the city? Because it's the city that made the plan for the open culture and open streets. Like the community board, we found out just the same as the rest of the community. So like, I just want to make it clear, it's like it wasn't like the community board that decided what streets. It's like we are learning as well. So it's like I think we should be having conversation with like our city officials to like make sure like we know like they're the ones who are responsible for like any of these issues, and maybe we should be bringing them into this conversation as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I also think that when the city is planning for things, either a committee like this or somewhere, there should be some outreach. I think the key word is outreach right now, because we're going to have to solve these issues. I mean, the city has really big plans, and it just seems to me that if we work together, we're not always going to agree, but at least we could get some things done.
Hi, I agree with Tion. The council, the community board, we don't find out firsthand what the city is doing. A lot of times it happens at the last minute, and we find out during a meeting. So as an outreach committee, yes, I know we're to outreach to the community and inform you of what might be going on, this, that, and the other, which is a great thing. But if we don't know ourselves as the community board, what are we to tell you? Yes, we can band together and we can discuss this and we want this and we want that. But a lot of times it will happen after it's been out there. So now how do we stop it? And the other thing is, this is a brand new Havcock. We have to get structured our own selves of how we're going to do outreach. We have some ideas formulating, but they have not put in place or action. I love the idea of the community coming together. I was the president over here in Cooper Park. But first things first. And like I said, nothing against anybody's culture, anybody's block, but this board, CB1, does not have firsthand knowledge of what might be going on at your block. When we get it, it is put on some kind of thing which we're working on because everybody don't have access to it and you can't see it. It's put out there to the community so you can come to the meetings and discuss it and say, how are we going to back you in stopping this from happening? I'm in Cooper Park. We had a building coming up. People came. They backed us up. The building's not happening. Thank you. But we have to do structure. We need structure. We really do. We need to know how this outreach committee is going to function. How can we get this information to you clearly? How can we get this information to you before it hits the street? But a lot of times we don't get it either. So for us to keep formulating how we're going to do this with community associations when this board committee, Havcott committee, hasn't formulated plans on how to get the information out yet. We're already getting complaints that the YouTube thing that we wanted to set up for the community, anyone to see, didn't work and it didn't mesh. So folks are blaming the person in the office on how to do it. It doesn't mesh. We have to work on those things. We have a lot of work to do. I understand, trust me, I understand. But if you don't formulate first and get your steps in order, what can you do for your community? We have a lot of work to do. I don't want to make anybody feel bad that we're not here to work with you. We are an outreach committee, but we're a brand new committee. This is like our third meeting.
There's no hand. How do we get in here, Julia? Right.
Go ahead, Jane. I'm done.
No, I'm just saying is that I said I'm old enough. One is I want to congratulate you all from the block associations. It's very exciting to see you here and to hear real people on the ground talking about what's happening on their block and the fact that you're linking up. When I first came, one of the things I did as an organizer was to organize, I think, the first block associations. They were in the attendance, and many of them have gone on today. But I think when Julia is saying my comments, Sante, and just cut us off where if we take too long, is that things need to be reorganized in a certain kind of way. One is, it's not just, I mean, the board has 2 staff in it or 3. And so one is, it's what Sante and other people, Tayan has been talking about, is how do we set up the electronic system so that we have on the website, we have hundreds of organizations on our email list. So when something is written up, it goes out to a huge amount of people, not 100 people, not 200 people, but 1,000 people, 2,000 people is just one thing. Everybody should call the office and say, you want to be on the list of information that goes out. But the other thing is that we all have CDCs. Where is the money in our neighborhood? The money is at the CDCs. You have North Brooklyn Development Corporation. I have St. Nicholas Alliance. There's Lassuris. There's People's Firehouse. That's where the money is and the staff. They could be providing more information. So all the money is going one place. When the politicians meet, they go do another whole thing. They don't necessarily bring all their things. Sometimes they do to the community board. We have budget meetings. It's raggedy. We have participatory budgets with 2 different politicians, and then we do a budget meeting at the community board. So all I'm saying, without getting into stuff that may not be of interest to you, is that I think that things could be reorganized and set up structurally in another way, which goes with what Julia is saying, and we could have a much bigger impact. We could have an annual conference. Why is there not one annual Williamsburg Greenpoint conference or a Greenpoint conference and a Williamsburg conference where people share the issues in workshops and events? We have talented people. We have some of the most talented people in New York are out here. So I'm pleading for people to reconsider how we do our business and to reorganize in some simple ways and not have worry about whether we have money or not, but we create systems differently is what I would like to add. But I want to welcome you all from the block associations, and it would be wonderful. Is there ever a time, quarterly or annually, that all the block associations meet? You know, I'd like to know that. And when Julia's talking, she was a tenant president. We have public housing leaders are the last grassroots group that I know besides block associations that actually elect their own people, and they don't have money and they're all working. So between the tenant leaders and all these housing and the block associations, we could have a very powerful community grassroots base to have a dialogue. You see what I mean? Is that they're there, but people forget about them totally. And then all of a sudden, you know, and we have new people coming in, and the new people are the people who have been here 10 years that have been gentrifying are mad at the new people gentrifying, and we don't get to know each other. So with all what's going on, with all the big development and all the money in our neighborhood coming in everywhere, if we reorganize how we do our business and our roles, we could have a big impact. So that's my message as of going on 80. I am an organizer for the last 50 years in this community and built many of the local institutions. I can make a claim to fame on that. Thank you. Thank you.
Jan, what's a CDC?
That's, I mean, it's even that. The community development corporations that have that, and if you ask, by the way, people politically, you ask our councilmen, who do they listen to right now for deciding what to vote for? Believe me, it's the CDCs. It's St. Nicholas Alliance. It is Lasouris. You know, that's where the power is. And they have, if you look at the budgets of these organizations, and I've said this at community board meetings, why is it that, like, they don't come to the housing meeting? This is what Amanda is talking about. We have a housing committee, but the housing groups that get millions and millions of dollars don't come to the housing meeting. They'll come to the ULIP meeting because they have to. So we need a relook. All I'm suggesting is that part of the outreach committee, and I think that's what Sante is trying to do, is that we can relook at how decisions are made, how things are happening, and is there a way to do it differently and better in a more open way? Because we become part of the problem after a while. I know an awful lot of what's going on, and I'm not over there. So the people on Noble Street and Milton could say, she left us out, right? But you have a one right there in Greenpoint, and you got all that money from the oil slick. And I watched that money for parks go down, to meet my point of view, go down the drains. So if the block associations became the monitoring voice of how things are implemented on the ground and how money is spent, right, could be really something, because you have legitimacy. You're not having to raise a budget. You don't have to get $1 million to pay staff. You don't have to run for a campaign. So the most legitimate people, not that you're all perfect, you're not, but are you all who are just trying to have your community operate and be able to live a certain way. I live here too, so.
Is there a
Thank you,
CDC
Janice.
in North Brooklyn?
Is there what?
A CDC in North Brooklyn?
Yes.
The
North
Greenpoint
Brooklyn Development Corporation.
That's Rich Mazur's?
That's Rich Mazer, right there.
And Rich Mazur's is a Milton Street block resident.
And he had a lot of money. I've sat there, I like Richard, but he'll get up there and say, all of you apply for the money. And I thought, why don't you all plan of how you're going to use that money? Why, what is that, you know?
Thank you, Janice. You touch one of the points. First, I want to thank you because this is the proof of having a diverse community board. And then we have somebody here, Sofia Campiona, is working on a research. And of course, you know, there's many voices, many talks about how badly is represented sometimes community board is not enough young people. But also I want to say, when people like Janice, that is not, she said she's 18 now, but when people like Janice, she is also like our historian because can provide so many valuable information, you know, and gives very rich input. They are really very valuable. But going back to what you were saying, Janice, and
Yeah,
to
but can we
everybody-
say that the community boards, and this goes to Steve and everybody else, the community boards used to be called the Community Planning Board. They took the word planning out about 5 or 10 years after the community board started. So re-looking at, and that is part of the history, people should know that because there are people trying to kill. Right now, if they could, a whole lot of people want to kill every community board. And the only local government we have, however bad, however faulty we may be, which it certainly is there, are community boards. Because to have the city councilman is about is up, you know, they can't do what the community board's 50 people. So when Amanda says we don't know, well, we should know an awful lot. With 50 people on a board, we should be able to bring a lot of information to that board, put it on the website, get things out, alert people, have a conference once a year, and just totally change how we've been doing business. Anyway, that's it.
Also, Janice, to really tap in what you were saying, we have many organizations in our neighborhood, maybe too many organizations that they started like the Block Association as a group of neighbors together, you know, working on issue when there were too many issues maybe in this community, and they become something else. They become politicized. They got all the fund, they got all the grant, they have the budget to run, and they have, you know, employee now that they are paid. I believe what happened right now, they have, despite the work is done for the community, they have lost this grasp in the community, which is what our association together, coalesce, really can do. And as you said, they don't have a budget. They don't have interest of money. There is not a program or an agenda they have made because they want to have that goal, and they're gonna you know, try to reach only that goal. So this is very important. It's very key, you know, especially this time. And then I'm gonna let Toby speak, and also Sophia, especially this time, because the open culture was one small event. The city is going to go through tremendous change urbanistically. There is so many programs which are all beautiful, open street, super blocks, and to many of you, the word may sound familiar, other may sound alien, but we talk about so many things that will intervene in the fabric of the physical fabric of the city, and consequentially in the social fabric of to go back to where we are, to our district and to our neighbor. Severely, positively and negative every time. But in the meantime, many organizations in our neighborhood, they're already working on this, and they're working on this without the community. And as a chair of this committee, I have a major concern. That's why, to me, you being here representing several blocks, also me being part of this community, this is what member of the community board should do, represent the portion of their community. And lately, it is many represent organizations that don't necessarily represent portion of their community, you know. So, but I'm gonna say something to Toby, and then Sophia raised her hand. So Sophia, maybe for a second, because I know your hand was up for a long time. And then you, Toby, is that okay?
I was just going to share, so I think that New York State uses this tool. I just found out about it from my professor, but it's basically like an application that's like built for the purpose of like participatory democracy. and it's basically set up as like a social network, but like for any sort of like it's at like any sort of like organization, like a local city council, association, university, and NGO, etc. I don't know if it could be beneficial for you guys, but it could be a more useful tool to like have a bunch of like, or just for data aggregation and just for people to like have awareness, because I think a huge part of the lack of like participation right now is due to like the lack of knowledge about the ways that people can be involved. Because like when I was researching last semester, like everyone said that they want to be involved, but they're not because they don't know how. So I'm just gonna send a link, but like maybe that's something that even if the board can't utilize right now, maybe the block associations can, or even just like use as a tool to like spread awareness to like their local neighbors.
Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, probably you want to put the link on the chat? Toby.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I wanted to thank everybody. I'm sorry that I'm
Toby,
not.
introduce yourself because you weren't here when everybody introduced
Oh, yeah,
themselves, so everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, I've been on the community board, I think for about 4 years, and more recently I chair economic development, which unfortunately we have very low turnout, but I haven't given up, and we try to bring important topics to discuss, and very much aligned with Sante and everything that he's trying to do. I think it's, we all appreciate the efforts you're making. Outreach, especially in COVID, has been very difficult for people to understand how to engage. I wanted to say, two things. One is just going back to what Jan said, that one of the reasons why I joined the community board was because I got involved with the town hall, the North Side town hall, and I had heard the story from Felice Kirby about what happened with the firehouse and how the community mobilized, and that legacy and history of community organizing and the very big impact it had, really made me interested. And just to give a little history, my grandfather started a business here in Williamsburg, which at the time we used to call it Greenpoint. He was a tenant where the soccer field is today on Kent and North 10th Street. My family never owned real estate, but he was a Polish Jewish immigrant, and I grew up coming to the neighborhood. Like I said, then we called it Greenpoint. So I had always had a very deep connection. And then in the late 80s, the family moved the business to Sunset Park. So I think that the work of this committee is crucial. And, Julia, to your point, there's a lot we need to do, but we also have to be ambitious, because between what people want, we have a hard job, but then also, really making impact. And sometimes, like if you look at the great example of the plastic park, now we mobilize, things are moving very quickly, and we don't always have that time. So I think, tapping into the history of people like Jan and everybody who knows what's happened here in the past, we have to really come up with an actionable plan. Some of these things are outside of our control. I think WebEx is like the worst platform to use, but that decision was made by somebody. There was a funny thing on late night TV about the people from Skype asking if they could do their meetings on Zoom because Skype so badly missed the vote. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, the history is very important, Jan. We appreciate having you here. Julia, we can't give up. We have to come with ambitious plans, and we have to try to work together. And the second point that I wanted to make is Sante brought to my attention this whole issue with open streets, which, by the way, I started getting calls as a community board member from businesses complaining about the streets that are closed randomly on Berry and here and there. And these are local entrepreneurs who are really struggling and don't understand why the streets are being closed. So I think on this specific issue, it is absolutely crucial that we organize. It's not just a parks or a transportation committee. It's certainly not just an economic development. It's not just an issue. It's housing, and this is a critical. I mean, I looked at the list of streets that are going to be affected. people that are going to have parties going on in front of their homes, and we really need to organize. So I think outreach is a crucial way to make sure that the community board is effectively doing its job and really trying to create avenues of communication when people can't simply show up at Ainsley and know that there's someone they can talk to. And I've met hundreds of people like that over the last couple of years who just came there and waited and spoke to us as a community board, during the breaks. So this particular committee is absolutely critical now in this virtual world. And I think the idea of trying to engage with the local block associations is another way to help create conduits of information when we can't always meet in person in this for the next, I think it may be as long as another year. So that's all I wanted to say. So kudos, Sante, and I'm so happy to see so many faces here because we get very few people in economic development. Maybe we'll merge the two committees so more people participate, but this is very, very critical work. And I'm very happy to be part of this and be helpful in any way that I can. One mention that I'm a developer. I've been working in Williamsburg for about 12 years. I've built residential. I own the Williamsburg Hotel, and I've been a volunteer at the Williamsburg High School for Architecture and Design, running a mentorship program there for about 6 years. And if anybody likes to mentor, I'm the queen of the mentorship. I run all kinds of other programs relating to mentorship, and look forward to meeting everybody else in person hopefully soon. And I used to be the cookie lady at the community board meetings, but we haven't met in person in a long time.
Thank you, Toby. And so, anybody else that want to add to this? I want to clarify because I know OpenStreet generate a lot of concern, a lot of tension, and I want to say, I have some understanding of urbanism, and none of these I'm against it. I believe a lot of the bad things that have happened is it's an approximation, and a process that has been not really a full informative democratic process, especially during COVID. And maybe it wasn't in the plan even to talk about this, but once Toby brought that into the picture, and I mentioned also before, is about so many other things, this idea of super blocks or the superilla, it's something they've been doing that in Spain, in Barcelona specifically, for a while, and there is a lot of things that have been modeled and taken from other cities right now, and Amsterdam, which is fantastic. It's definitely is about safety, is about making city more recyclable and definitely reduce pollution and reduce traffic. So I don't think we can be against that, because it wouldn't be honest to say that I'm against that, but I believe it have to be done with a process. It can't just be done with a desire, because when you close 3 streets and 4th street in a certain place, we need like urban study that need to be very accurate. And ways urbanism is always a science, is never precise science, somehow. It always goes through process of experimentation, and as people that have vision, but there are consequences, and community has to be part of that, and I mean, OpenStreet has been done, if you want to talk about, they've been doing this in Amsterdam for a while, and there was an idea, actually, it was an idea of the coalitions, and the coalition, and here, we heard about coalition, but also, I believe many in different area. I don't know, not here, it didn't happen here where we are in Greenpoint, but the big coalition have been imported from somewhere else. And I believe one of the issues has been that the community didn't feel part of that. All of a sudden this coalition were maybe politicized coalition, and they made decision for a community wasn't informed. But I know what happened in Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam, really they created really block coalition of the neighborhood, and there were real input. So, if people fear, I don't think this has happened here, but if people fear because they have their car, I mean, I've been without a car for many years in New York, I use bike, I have a Vespa, but people have car, and the same fear happened also in city like Amsterdam, but they build parking space. So we had a city there that invested in infrastructure while they were doing this, you know. And so here I don't see the city purchasing anything, actually selling land that shouldn't be sold, and selling land should be turned into parks. So, you know, we have other things that we should be aware. And so that's what I want to say. So we can't really be against, but we can ask probably for a process. Julia, you were saying, want to say something? I can see your hand is raised. Steve, you can talk, guys. I don't think.
Okay.
I see your
Yeah,
hands.
I'd just like to say, yeah, you know, I'm Steve Chesler. I've been on the board for 4 years and involved with parks around here. And so I love what everyone is bringing to the table here tonight, both the Block Association members and residents and committee members and board members. It's fantastic. Especially, you know, Julia and Janice, talking about, to me, it's like a flow. It has to flow both ways, from the organizations who have people on the ground, and then the community board that, you know, and Toby cited the plastic park situation. Well, basically the board was tipped off from people who are on the ground and through other means. And then, and of course, you know, they came to the board. But then the board was able to you know, mobilize people around this issue. So so I like the idea of just strengthening the bonds between the you know, the neighborhood associations and the tenant associations and the CDCs and our board. You know, I think, and I hear what Julia, what you're saying, but I feel this is we're moving. This is a big machine that we're trying to reassemble. And I think we're making slow but significant, steady progress with things, and we got to fix things along the way. I noticed the YouTube issue, and I wrote a few other little things down when we get to that. But and just, you know, the open streets, you know, I know there was almost no planning, but it was, you know, basically sort of triage during COVID just to get people, you know, kind of in a safe space, creating more open space. But and now they're kind of retroactively looking at what's going on and what they've done. But, you know, it's still pretty I wouldn't say reckless, but it's yeah, it's rough. So that's my take.
And also, Steve, because you know, people, I didn't get involved. I got involved partly. People send me kind of CC me in so many email, which people I didn't even know, but because they saw there was this outreach committee. So I'm assuming in a desperate action, just the word outreach felt, oh my God, I can find a channel, right, where we can communicate. Of course, there are things that are not even our competence of the transportation committee that have to do with DOT. But, you know, for example, some things happen, you know, it's like, of course, you know, there's so many businesses that have difficulty and we go back to the issue of quality of life, but now restaurants are gonna be granted permanent presence in the street. So, you know, they're gonna have more space, and even after COVID, they're gonna have more space. And again, as was happening for the open culture, it's like things are decided without parameter, and they favor an industry that, you know, it's a vital part of our economic fabric. They favor an industry and they don't favor, you know, the residents. So of course it's great to have like other 50 seats outside on top of your indoor space, but if you're a bar and you are regulated and now you can even play amplify music until 1 a.m. and somebody is living there, I mean, all the things that the community have worked for years about quality of life, you know, making sure. And sometimes community like this one from all this block association, and I've been part of many community working together, making agreement with bar and restaurants. So not really to just be an Invisayer, but creating parameters in a very creative way, and now all years of this legacy of this communication are kind of being wiped out, and not all community are called to express their opinion. The conditions are created are cutting out even the idea, a concept of what quality of life is, or what it means for somebody to be able to sleep or be able to do something else, and so those are very important things. Janice, you and Julia, you both have your hand raised.
Ante, Bella is trying to speak. Now I can't hear anything. So.
Yeah, just guys, speak when you want to speak. I believe
Bella. She's got our mute on. Sorry, Bella, you got your mute on. I don't know how to help her. No. Go on.
Julia's saying that her mic is not allowing her to speak. So Julia, if you go to the very bottom, if you press the mute button, does that help you at all?
Her microphone is open. Julia, your microphone is listed as open.
We're having some problem, I believe, with this WebEx tonight. Every night.
I don't think it's WebEx. I think it's people have their programs. It's Julia's microphone. I keep unmuting her.
Julia, I can't hear you when you're speaking.
She's unmuted.
We finally got you, Julia, so you can't talk. To do to help Bella, Marie. Dante, you have to move on with the meeting.
Yeah, I had to move on. I saw people disappearing. A lot of people is not here.
Because we're waiting. That's the problem of the problem of technology. People give up.
Okay. So maybe we said enough really for tonight about this. But how do we want to proceed? What do we want to? Because one of the things we are facing is that we do this nice conversation, and I believe the Block Association were here, and when we should communicate with the Block Association, we should try to find. Look, I believe our agency and our council office, whatever is there listed for the future, they know very well where we are, and maybe, I don't know, we should remind them that there is a community board. But we should remind them there is also other organization of residents and neighbors, and we cannot be excluded. So what do you think? What should be our next step to really getting a little bit louder about this? And the idea of bringing different representatives here tonight, it was really a way to start at least an outreach, and that's what I've done myself. And the fact everybody was here, symbolically, there were hundreds and hundreds of people here tonight. And that had to do with their desire, with their need. So.
Well, I think, Sonny, I just feel like we just keep on the same track, you know, at least with the physical elements of communication, just improving the website, improving the email, newsletter and outreach, social media, YouTube, etc. But I think just to keep in mind, what Tion spoke about is some of this is caused by the agencies and City Hall themselves and like state parks, because either not communicating or they communicate at the last minute. But at that point, and then I know that, both Jerry and Marie have said that they have, I guess, clusters of groups that they contact, I guess, were a given issue. And so I would just suggest maybe that be updated or upgraded to kind of, include just, refresh the block associations contact and the tenant associations and whomever else, and I'm not sure how to go about doing that, but that would be kind of a, basic suggestion to improve the communication where we can, and then, kick the behinds of agencies that are chronically not notifying the board at all or at the last minute.
Steve, I'm going to agree with you because it's Elisa, because I also think that down the road and in the ether, the community board is also tasked with reviewing things that are coming through based on what I'm seeing with the city. And then also to Julia's point, I mean, this sounds like the beginning of some kind of structure. I mean, it may be a little ad hoc, but I think we made some progress tonight. And it's a big boulder we're pushing uphill.
And not only, sometimes, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? And what he was talking here in this portion of neighbor, which comprise like 5, 6, probably some are growing 7 block association that they are getting coalesced. And even in light of the program, again, I said, maybe we're not against, but maybe real neighbors are involved in how things are run. Maybe there is an open street and maybe we want to have these organizations that they are the residents self and they can find a more organic way to coexist with whatever we're doing. But definitely, we have to represent this to community board, and hopefully the reason why we want to have this event, it was because we always have an opportunity as a committee when we present our report to have more time. It's not just a random few members from the community, and so we can amplify this voice.
No, but let's,
hopefully.
I think, Sante, we've got, Steve just reviewed from what Amanda said, I said, Steve said, we're kind of on a move of some structure, building on what exists in the community. And for example, there is no reason that part of that structure is not to have twice a year a report in the Gazette, the Green Line, all those papers. Again, the news, look at who has the newspapers locally. We don't have a newspaper really, but we have the Gazette and the Green Line, and we have some Polish and other language papers. So if once a year, twice a year, there was an article about the community board and what it does and how people could get engaged and what it means to come to a meeting, I think that is another thing to build on. It's not just the social media. Let's keep our newspapers going too. And then, just say is that is not, that exists right here. All our councilmen spend a lot of money getting out newsletters. We can ask them to put in a thing about the community board in their newsletter that they put out.
So the question is, who on this committee is going to take on that task?
Right. I understand that.
Well, that's what you need to decide. No, you need to decide what tasks you're going to do instead of just coming up with ideas. So that's,
no, first you have to get approval to do
you
the
need to figure out how you want to take care of a task.
And you
That's
don't
important.
think You don't think we have to get approval from the board first, that this is the general direction, the way we're going? 'Cause
If you come up
I've
with the
gotten slapped
task,
an awful
then
lot.
if you come up with tasks and you
Okay.
have a way of that you're going to do it within the committee, then you approach the board on it. But you need to
Okay.
come up with something instead of just going in circles.
We're not going in circles, Marie. That's not fair.
I didn't mean it in a
Yeah.
bad way. I meant it in a good
No.
way.
We have been trying to figure out the way to go, and I think we are headed there now, if people feel that. Sante, do you feel that we're headed in a direction that makes sense? Because we just extending the mailing list. Okay, step one, we have to have a copy of the mailing list. Who is on the mailing list at the community board right now, so we can see it?
I believe the committee had already asked for that.
Yeah, so we need that. Do we have anybody here that is willing? I'm very willing to call Elise at the Green Line and ask her if she would add on to her job thing, because she's paid to do it with a high salary, twice a year, an article about the community board and how people can get involved.
Please,
Is there
Janice.
anybody that deals with the Gazette? So I could deal with the Green Line. I don't have to write it, but I certainly will talk to the people that are there that write there for the.
Yeah, I could reach out to Green Pointers.
Okay, right. And the north side, is there any newsletter in the north side and the south side?
Who do we have here from the north side?
And that's another thing, is this committee needs a focal point. Probably, who is our south side rep? We have to get that. We tell the board that we need somebody from the south side. Bella's here from the Jewish community. She's very willing to send out, I can speak for her because I've heard her many times, to send out information to the broader community. She has hundreds of people that she's talking to.
And yeah, we have to find out, Marie, also what kind of information do we have. Like, for example, this was my own initiative, and Steve could have done too, but this is like a tangible part of a community. I could have.
I'm sorry, Sante. I must have missed something.
No, I say that I don't know other part of the community, because this I know this part of Greenpoint, we put together several blocks and we reach already people. Now, if we go with this idea, and I don't know, there are other block association around the Graham Avenue.
Okay, let me just say that anyone who wants to join the mailing list, although the information is confidential, I cannot release you the individual people's names and stuff. They can't do that. But we do have a list. We did have a system in the past, but organizations do come and go. People do come and go and drop off block associations, and they go dormant for a while. But anyone can sign up to be on the mailing list, and the link is there on the website. So there is, everyone who came to the meeting tonight, if we don't have you, sign on so that we know.
No, but what I was trying to ask, Marie, do we have other block? Because here the idea is not to just have a mailing list. I know we had it, but I'm trying to
saying to you that we did have lists. We go through the precincts. The precincts sometimes maintain a block association list, organizations. We go through them. A lot of them have become stale. People have changed. We try to maintain that list so that we know who the contact is. And we put together a chart in the office a while ago with organizations and what their catchment area is. We asked them, what is the area that you define as your area? And then the key leaders on that organization are the ones who would get heads up. We would give them information. So we do have something in place, something that we regularly use. If there are new people who are coming on onto the into the realm of the neighborhood. And don't forget, my memory goes back 30-something years. So, it's like, historically things come and go, they change. If anyone wants to join the mailing list, please do so. Sign on through the website. It automatically gets connected, and we can manipulate it better.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to understand. What can we have a list of what we know that there are block association, that they are organized, that they left the record at the office?
That's what I explained. I have a list, but the list is probably very old, and people are still not there. Your block had different people on it. There are blocks like Noble Street had different people on it. A lot of the block associations, they change. Are they chartered? That's the other question. Do you have a charter for your block association? Um, some people are just coalesce. They're like a coalition. I don't know what the structure is of the individual groups, but that's an important thing. So a lot of times they've chartered themselves. They can say, we are a chartered block association. We have a charter. This is our mission. We're recognized by the state. I don't know, the people who are on the meeting tonight, if that's true.
It doesn't matter how they are organized, how officially, how complex is the system. More than anything, can we reach them? Can we reach them?
Let me say something about that. At one time, we had 3 organizations that had the same name, and they all fought for the same little pot of money. This was when they were doing the McCarran Park Pool. There were 3 different groups that claimed fame to being the official group of the McCarran Park Pool. So that's one of the reasons why I say it's important to know how they're organized and if they actually are the representatives of the area that they say they're representing. It's just, I'm not saying anything else is not valid. I'm just saying it's important to know that the people you're dealing with are the valid people of that group. Because, like I said, from experience, I had 3 McCarran Park Pool groups, and they all fought with each other. And, it got to like who was the real person to stand up, like with that TV show. Will the real person stand up? So it's important that if you're going to come as an organization, you're going to come as a block association, who are your key leaders? Who is the person you identify with? Who is the person that comes forward and says, if you need to contact Block A, this is the person who you contact. That's what's important. So if you're going to send out the organizing, you make sure that little piece is included. That's what we go by. That's what we use.
Okay, I was trying to understand if we could have a grasp into. Maybe they're too old, so we can't have it. Maybe we should.
Sante, can Bella speak? I won't be able to stand it if Bella doesn't get to speak.
Where is Bella? We try
She's
to
going to
connect.
speak through my phone. Go on, Bella.
Yeah, hi.
Maybe not.
No.
Something at the matter.
Not working.
Okay.
No. You have to work with Marie on how to get this to work later.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Sorry.
Bye.
Good night. All the best.
What I would suggest is with the groups that we hear tonight, is ask them to send Marie an update of their leaders and contact information. So those very active block associations that were in the meeting tonight will have fresh information.
Okay, so that's good. And maybe we should formulate a message.
I'm sorry, Sante. They don't have to send me anything. They just go on the website and sign up. They sign up this way. We could see what they put in, and we know them.
No, but it was more sign up as probably more than sign up. Probably they already sign up individually.
I don't know. That's what
having recognized them via an email as organization and start building a different database.
So sign up on that list. Sign up on the link as the organization.
Was some time organization.
We got a lot of techie people on here. I think you can help formulate how that could be done. Steve and what's his name that's on here that does technology?
Tion has left.
Right, Tion, but he can help.
Steve does everything
already. But because we have to get a very large list to get communication out to. And Marie's right that you have that later on, maybe we will have to worry about how authentic some of the people are. But right now we're just restarting, because it's years ago that people signed up probably. And maybe there needs to be an annual time where you reaffirm or something. I don't know. But it's an organizing job. That is the problem, Sante. There needs to be an organizer that is helping with all this, or interns and social work students. But these are jobs that or the CDCs. Somebody's got to help.
Bella's,
It's not a volunteer job.
we see Bella's screen now.
What happened?
I know. I don't know what happened.
I think she pushed the wrong button.
Center now.
Well, first of all, it's a big trip that she's the first body from the Hasidic community to get on the board. And she does talk. All those women that came over the last few years never had been at a community board meeting before. So, I mean, let's look at what we do have going. And we know the public housing people aren't coming because they don't believe that the board is talking about their issues. So if we want them to come, we've got to be relevant about RAD and all these other issues that public housing cares about.
Okay, guys, I believe, unfortunately, we've lost other people. If we have something to vote, everybody is mostly left. And I believe it was very important what we have initiated as a conversation. We got to think of a structure. Otherwise, we're just going to talk and we're not going to go anywhere. Maybe we can also send an email from our community board to whatever mailing list we have. I don't know where we are, if they are organized or not, asking them if they are organized as a block association, a request if they have block association in the place where they are, and also maybe another email where we invite them to organize themselves if they are blocks with block association. Maybe we should do something like that too. Would be a step to.
Sounds good.
What do you think?
I think that sounds good. So, Sandra, I have a couple of things. I just have my hand raised. One, I think the 94th precinct or the 90th precinct should have lists of previous or currently block associations. So I think
that's Francois.
So I think getting those lists from the 90th could kind of be helpful.
And the 90 in the hospital too.
I'm just thinking that, there's like Betty White, some of the people who've been doing a lot of the work with the North Brooklyn Angels, like pre-COVID, are active in that. And I think kind of trying to bridge the digital divide and the communication is important. From the South side, I would recommend Los Sores, because I think that they're able to communicate with everyone who's kind of in those buildings. And then Sophia mentioned 2 trees, right? I feel like I saw that.
What, 2 trees? What, 2 trees management?
Can 2 trees be involved as they are essentially dominating a large part of the waterfront?
Honestly, this is completely opposite of inviting a developer or this is about tapping into individual resident. I mean, at least my idea was like completely getting away for larger politicized organization, which they have all economic interests of any type. This is about people.
I understand that, but I just think since Sophia is new to, I don't know, the community, but newer to these meetings, I just think also reading, other people's ideas. I mean, personally,
I know Sophia. I invited Sophia, Francois.
I understand that, but
and I was trying to clarify. It wasn't an accusation that the core. You weren't here at the beginning of the meeting. You lost an hour of the meeting. It was about the people and trigger people to be organized as a group of neighbors. And so that's very important. That's why I'm not dismissing the fact.
So I think, but I think what there are in the larger buildings is there are on 21 India, we're able to send things to their residents and they put it up on the group chats. So then it goes out to the residents. So there are those type of bulletin boards. They're electronic
they all
bulletin
got locked
boards.
up.
Marie, can we close this
No.
screen from
It's
Bella?
all got new
I've
things
been
on
trying
them.
to get it to close it. I can't close it.
Yeah.
She's got the control.
Oh.
I don't have control over this. This is what happens when you
No.
have meetings and everyone has their own control.
It's not, it's all black now, it just disappeared. Anyway, the poor guy, he got
Dante,
something going there for a
why
while,
don't your
but
committee prepare the document that you
call
want to
it.
go out or whatever the outreach
Once
piece
we got
is?
Bella going back and forth, that she
Sante?
tried.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I can hear
I'm
you.
the only one now that
can
has
your
my
ki-
picture on. No, everybody else is gone.
Janet,
Are you sure the call?
Can you mute your?
I
No,
can't
no.
mute her either.
Well, I'm gonna leave it right
She's
now.
got the own.
I mean, it's
Francois
become
is
very
speaking, it looks
difficult
like
today,
I-
this meeting. I don't know what is happening.
I will ask again, Sante, does your committee prepare
See, this has
something
got a
to
cross
go
out
out?
up there, whatever that
What
is.
you want to have
Let's
done?
just give up.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we can prepare. I mean, I don't know who's here
Is
tonight.
anybody there?
Okay.
I can hear other voices
See
in the
my guy
background.
there.
I don't know who's
Hello, everybody. Anybody there?
Yes, why?
If they are, I'm not hooked to them.
This is connecting. Did you ever
Okay.
see this go out? I think you.
Janice, maybe can you hear us?
No, she's
Okay.
muted.
Okay.
She's muted, but
Now I can. Now I can.
Okay. Okay, Marie, I'm assuming we should have prepared something. I don't know what's going to happen now. Is
I can't help you. You need to.
Sante, I think we have a direction, so we've gotten pretty far. And we can always have a small group. You can convene a three-way telephone call and talk to some of us. But I think we have to end, don't you? No, it's all,
Can I
I
just-
can't.
One suggestion about the emails. Additionally, people are really happy that they got on the list recently. But what's happening besides the meeting notice issue, which is great, sometimes people get just 10 or more emails just sent to them in a day from, they're not related to meetings. And they're feeling like it's not really helpful for them to receive all those emails. I would suggest being more discerning with which of those are sent out, or creating a digest of what you feel the most important are, like on once a week or something like that. But that was just some feedback that I've gotten from people who recently got on the list.
And if we got all the names of people that come to the meetings and the public hearings, and they had a systematic way that people could sign up, that would help. I agree with Steve. That's still the problem, Steve. That still requires certain staff support to do that. Or somebody. I mean, I don't think things are going to work without having staff support somewhere to take on some of these tasks.
So I would say make things easier is maybe, I think it's just the meeting notices are the most important. And the other ones, I don't know, I feel like because people get so many, they literally told me they're just putting it, sending them to the trash. So,
Okay.
so I'm just wondering, maybe not to send those out unless something's really, really, really
Yes.
important, until we figure out something else.
absolutely, Steve. So that's something else. But I wish we would have had more time to. But maybe at this point, there's one social media we have it. I just want to put in place a system so we could share. Maybe you had asked before you want to open a Facebook. I don't know. We had a free of Facebook. We could have started running that and probably vehicle some other information there. Something a little bit more visual. I don't know. But yes, Sophia, can I ask you a favor? Because I don't know why I'm all froze here. Can you copy the chat for me and put it in an email? You mind?
Is she there? Yeah.
If you are there, copy paste, and then towards the end of the meeting, But anyhow, guys, perfect. I have to say, I don't know if it's just me, but this WebEx hasn't functioned properly tonight.
No.
No, for not only for me, but for many people, I have to say. So unfortunately, this is a big limitation. To anything else we want to say before we close this? We definitely, we did some step. We open a conversation. Let's see whatever we can structure. Maybe we have a conversation, a few of us, and see how the committee and see what we can do to go next step with that.
Okay. Newspapers.
Possibly in
List.
a meeting is to brainstorm physical, remedies and improvements that we can do. Go beyond the
Right.
theoretical, and now we have data from the community and from the board has actually come up with real solutions that could be implemented, like we did kind of, I guess, in meeting number 1.
And also, guys, once we get understanding, because now we brought in this portion of our community, right? But once we have understand, like on the south side or in other area, and we're able to bring in what you think about this and do the same kind of conversation, and we have like representative, this could be a way to initiate a dialogue and also be a little bit more physical, knowing that there are these people somewhere.
Yes. Okay. I think we need 25 Paul Revere's, whose job is to outreach.
If Sophia becomes part of committee, I know she's waiting.
I'm working on it.
You're working on that? Well,
I'm waiting to hear back from my professor with like the letter of reference to send to you or to the board.
And did you send your application?
No, because on the thing it's like asking for like a reference on the thing that's on the website.
I see.
Well, why can't you recommend give her a reference, Dante?
Yeah. I mean, all of you as a member, even you, Janice, as a very long time members this community board, and especially seeing that you represent women, and we have here a woman.
Oh boy, they're tricky, Sophia. All right. Anytime you want to talk to Sophie, is it Sophie or Sophia?
Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia.
So it wasn't either of those. So anyway, just put my name down as a reference, but he knows you longer.
I'll give you, no, I'm joking. I'll give you, you can put the reference, and probably the entire steering committee voted for you. And so we did. And so there was a quorum. So you can, it's on the record, but you can mention that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put Sante there. And
yeah,
me,
I'll just,
the two of us. Yeah.
I'll send in the form, like the official form, and then whenever I get the letter from my professor, I can just share that along.
And which school are you at?
I'm a senior at Parsons studying strategic design and management.
Well, you had a very radical guy that was the head of over there at Parsons. I taught at New School for a while. But you got a good school.
Yeah, and my professor, he does like a lot of like community organizing, and he like does like urbanism and all of the things that.
Who is your professor?
Anjay Zadel. He works with Hester Street a lot and like the Center for Urban Pedagogy. Yeah, I don't know what he does like for sure. I know he like has a design studio, but I also know that he's in Europe right now for work, so he's been hard to pin down this semester.
Okay, guys, I believe we're gonna close the meeting for tonight. We start with that. We're gonna continue maybe at the next one with the voting on this technicality of the social media and any other things that we want to revive because we're going to carry on with that agenda from February 25th. That is going to be a permanent presence there, and we're going to revive some other conversation from there.
So if the techie guys could talk to each other and the organizing people could talk to each other and come up with being in agreement about 2 steps each, we'll get someplace. I think we're getting someplace.
Maybe we should have some kind of email between us, all of the committee, before the meeting, because unfortunately, this committee is not just here to vote to a land application and we say yes or not. It's about doing a lot of work, and so it's not an easy task.
Well, if you want it to fail, you end up with having no staff support. That's my experience. We have a lot of people that do a lot of work. Steve knows you just won a big battle. And how much work did that take on the park? I mean, these are big things that take time intensive and a lot of energy. And to keep this going beyond us, that's a question, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need
Unless we're all going to go to Sicily and do our planning work from there.
During the summer. Okay.
Yeah.
Count me in on that.
Okay, because that's
maybe that's what we should do. Go there for a month. I invite you all, and while you come back from the sea, just think about what strategy.
When you're trying to build something new, you need retreats. You know, it's kind of hard in an hour and a half meetings, but
in the Mediterranean, Alaska, right?
Yeah. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, Jerry.
Okay.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you. Let's be in touch. Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Thank you, everybody.